Last time on the Skip and Josh podcast.
But then, I don't know if you saw what happened in Game 3. First of all, he makes this brutal throw to the plate that he shouldn't even thrown.
That throw was awful. First of all, you're right. He shouldn't have thrown it. And then when he did, he sailed it like a mile over everyone's head.
It reminded me of some of the throws you used to make 25 years ago from center field into the backstop.
This is true.
You're listening to the Skip and Josh podcast with Skip Sherman and Josh Obadia.
I'm Josh in Toronto.
And I'm Skip in Montreal.
In today's episode, Max Scherzer,
Dave Martinez,
and AJ Hinch.
But first, Trey Turner.
Okay, Skip, so the World Series is now done. We're officially in November, and so we're going to recap everything that has happened since the last time we spoke. It's no surprise. It won't be a surprise to you that clearly I'm disappointed by the outcome of the World Series.
Yeah.
One thing I'm actually pleased about, pleased may be a bit too strong of a word, is that I believe I called this because if you recall, the last time we spoke, when the series was tied at 2,
yeah,
everyone thought, okay, the Astros, that's it. They just won 2 in a row. They're going to win the next 2. They're going to win this in 6. It's over. But I believe if you replay a bit of the last episode, you'll hear that I said that this series is a toss-up. Right. And even after Houston won Game 5 and went up 3-2, even after that, I still said this series is a toss-up. I didn't say it to you, maybe, but I did say...
It's a toss-up, and it was, and it went down to the end. But I know, Josh, you like to be clear on things, right? Whenever we make a mistake, you like to bring in like a segment about corrections or clarifications. So, yes, so you're saying you called that, but like how many times on this podcast did you say that the Washington Nationals franchise is cursed and they would never win?
Well, they were until this year.
So did something break the curse? Was it Bryce Harper's leaving?
That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, curses are complete hooey. It's absolutely something made up by fans to make themselves feel better. There's no such thing.
Well, there's still a curse on the Montreal baseball franchise because they haven't won anything.
Well, yeah, I guess. I don't want to get into... we can get into that later. I have some thoughts about what I saw on social media regarding the Expos and after the Nationals won.
So, anyway, I know that this play ended up not mattering, but we haven't talked about it, so I have to talk about this play because it's really, really bugging me.
Are you talking about the Trey Turner play at first?
Yes, we have to start with this because this is the most important thing that I have to talk about. If we talk about nothing else, we have to talk about this play.
Well, I told you I've never taken so much notes in a week, and it all has to do with Game 6 and Game 7 of the World Series, and the Trey Turner play is the first thing on my list, right? Like, we can go chronological from Game 6 and recap from there, right?
Well, if we're going to go chronological, we have to talk about Game 5.
No, but let's go dive into Game 6 and start with that play.
Well, hold on, but Game 5 is important because Game 5, Max Scherzer was supposed to start, and then we find out like 45 minutes before the game that he's not starting.
Never mind 45 minutes before the game, 45 minutes after we finish recording our podcast. We get all of a sudden social media and text messages start blowing up that Scherzer's scratched. Apparently he's paralyzed and can't move. But yet somehow he made a miraculous recovery 48 hours later.
Well, it wasn't really an injury. It was more like, it happens to me too. You wake up in the morning, you slept wrong or awkwardly, and you can't turn your neck to one side or something. And, usually that lasts about 24 hours and then you're good to go.
I guess modern medicine helped them, I guess. Give him a shot, right?
Anyway, that by the way, him not pitching in Game 5 and pitching in Game 7 clearly helped the Nationals.
Well, you can't necessarily say that because what if he would have pitched in Game 5 and they would have won?
They wouldn't have won Game 5, though.
Okay. Okay. Well, whatever. Okay. So let's go to that Trey Turner play. I want to hear what you have to say about it.
Okay. So I didn't watch the game live, but I saw the replay 100 times.
Of course.
And first of all, the umpires made the correct call. Dave Martinez can come out and argue all he wants. Nationals fans can be upset as they want to be. The umpires made the correct call. There is that 45-foot rectangle down the first base line in foul territory, which is specifically for bunts or plays similar to that, where there's a close play at first base, where the batter might be in the baseline and the batter needs to be in foul territory. That has been a rule for as long as I've been alive. And
how can the batter be in foul territory when the base is in fair territory?
the base is on the line. So technically, part of the base is in, if not in foul territory, very close to foul territory. And
2 inches of the base are on the line.
And you're allowed, by the way, at the end when you're reaching for the base, there's a way for you to step on the base and not be in fair territory. Like your left leg can be on the base and the rest of your body's in foul territory.
Look, I agree with you that by the letter of the law, they made the right call.
It's not even, hold on, it's not even by the letter of the law. Let's say
100% it is, because that call is
no, it's not. It was the right call, and I'll tell you why. Go watch the replay again. First of all,
I watched it 600 times, Josh. It's not going to change my mind, just like you're not going to change your mind by you watching it 600 more times.
Let's say it was close. Let's say he was...
Well, it was close.
No. But let's say he wasn't even on the foul line. He was to the right of the foul line. He was almost on the infield grass when he was running. So it wasn't even like he was close to foul territory. He was not even close to foul territory, and he didn't even make any attempt to go to his right. He was entirely, the entire time from the batter's box to the base, he was always in fair territory the entire time. Mm-hmm. Now, maybe it's because he's a right-handed batter and that's where he started off and he was just running as fast as he could and he wasn't paying attention, and that's fine. But he clearly interfered with the first baseman.
He didn't.
He did.
The ball hit him. How did he interfere?
He knocked the first baseman's glove out of the first baseman's hand.
Well, everything happened. The runner, the ball, and his glove all hit the same spot at the same time.
This is why you're not supposed to be in fair territory, because you can't interfere with the fielder. That's the whole point of the rule.
Right.
So the rule was called correctly. Now, it took them too long to get to that ruling. They shouldn't have done all that and taken 10 minutes or however long they took, but they made the correct call, and it's not a reviewable play. So they they didn't need to review it because they made the right call initially, so they didn't need to review it.
I don't understand the review. I don't understand why they reviewed it.
Well, I found out the next day they actually weren't reviewing it. They were just talking to, I don't know if they were talking to Joe Torre or somebody at the head office in New York.
No, Joe Torre was at the game. He was there in person.
So, I mean, they weren't actually reviewing the play. They were just getting some sort of clarification.
On the rule, or?
I'm not sure.
Isn't that the definition of reviewing the play?
I'm not sure who they were talking to or what clarification they were getting. But the correct call was made. He should have been called out, and he was called out. And again, Martinez can come out and argue, and Martinez just wanted to get ejected anyway to rile up his team. So
100% Martinez just wanted to get ejected.
And the fact that actually he didn't even get tossed after that play. He only got tossed at the end of the inning.
5 minutes later. It was during the commercial.
So that's the proof that he just wanted to get tossed.
I'm glad you used the word proof.
Okay.
You know when you were a kid, right? And you would play like any sport, and like your friend cheated, or they did something wrong, or the umpire made a bad call that went against you, and the very next play, like things went your way, and you would say cheater's proof. That's exactly what happened. Exactly what happened.
Or there's another expression that I've heard, the ball don't lie.
The ball don't lie, right? So the next batter, you get a home run, that was it anyways.
That's fine. I have no problem with the home run. I'm just saying the correct call was made, and the umpires and Major League Baseball took too much flack. I'll criticize the umpires when they make a mistake anytime, because they make lots of mistakes. But in this particular case, in this particular case, they didn't make a mistake. And what bugs me even more is that all these so-called baseball expert analysts, Mike Wilbon, Tony Kornheiser, anyone on ESPN, anyone on Fox, the list goes on and on. Everything I heard the next day, and even that day, was that it was a brutal call and the umpire screwed up. But it wasn't a brutal call. It was the right call.
I saw, the thing is, when you listen to people's opinions on the call, it's clouded by who they're cheering for. If you're an Astros guy, you think one way. If you're a Nationals guy, you think another way. That's why the umpire's there, because supposedly they're objective, right? So it's that the umpire made a decision. Sports is full of bad decisions, Bad calls. This is part of the game. You can't get rid of it. It's what it is. And this is even I wouldn't, like you said, it's not even a bad call, right? It's they made a call and you disagreed with it.
I didn't disagree with it.
People did.
And if Trey Turner is running where he's supposed to run, he doesn't hit Gurriel's glove. The glove doesn't fall off. Maybe he doesn't catch the ball anyway. Or maybe he catches the ball and Turner beats it anyway. Who knows? Well, but the point being, the minute that he touched the first baseman or any part of the first baseman,
interference.
That's interference, and he's not where he's supposed to be.
Yeah. I just feel like it's maybe the ump interpreted the letter of the law a little too much, and in this situation, it could have went either way, the call, honestly.
Well,
he could have let it go.
I disagree. I think if you don't call that's like in basketball when they don't call traveling every 5 seconds.
It is like that, but I mean, anyways. Wow, I didn't think you'd have such a strong opinion on the call.
I mean, I
just kind of wanted to talk about it.
It's been bugging me ever since, and I couldn't wait to talk about it.
But it's bugging you because what? They made the right call. They made a call. They made the right call. So in your mind, like, why is it even bothering you? Because people disagree with it?
Because there are baseball experts who say that it was the wrong call.
Well, they're wrong, I guess. And I guess they're wrong.
They are.
Yeah. I like what Juan Soto said after the game when they asked him about it.
What did he say?
The umps are human.
Okay.
He had nothing to say. He's like, look, the umps are human. The calls are calls. Mistakes could happen. It's part of the game. You got to roll with it. And they did, right? Because he smashed a home run that was so deep. Like, oh my God. No?
Yeah, he crushed it.
So last episode, I used the clip from Bull Durham. Anything that, anything flying that high, what is it?
Needs a stewardess.
Anything going that fast should have a stewardess on it?
Yeah. Stewardess apparently is politically incorrect now.
Yeah, it's flight attendant. The home run that he hit, Soto, the next one, holy smokes, what the hell?
Was even further.
That was like one of the longest home runs I think I've ever seen. No? They say it's only 415 feet, but
I don't even know how they measure those distances. I don't know how
it disappeared.
Accurate.
Like you couldn't actually even see where it landed.
I didn't see where it landed, actually.
No, it was crazy.
The cameraman lost it.
So while you have a strong opinion about that call, the thing that bugged me most about Game 6 was the so-called controversy about Alex Bregman carrying his bat to first. I wish this nonsense would just go away. I wish it would just go away. Who cares what he does?
I don't even think that it was such a bad thing. Like,
me too. And then again, Juan Soto, the only man with a brain on both teams, they asked him, why did he do it also? He said, I thought it was cool, so I did it too. Like, he didn't take offense to it. He said, I thought it was cool, so I did it too. But meanwhile, supposedly Dave Martinez had a talk with Soto, and Hinch had a talk with Bregman, and they're like, we don't want to play the game this way. Screw you. Like, honestly, those guys are such dinosaurs. It's absurd. It's absurd at this point.
And Hinch and Martinez aren't even that old.
No, I mean, we remember Dave Martinez playing, right? Dave Martinez is 5 years older than us, Josh. 5 or 6 years older than us. That's it.
I didn't realize he was that young. But anyway, I didn't have a problem with him carrying the bat. No. I think if you flip the bat at home plate and then run, that's more I don't know, egregious than carrying the bat.
Because that could be interpreted as like in the face of the other team, like a taunting. Here, he just got caught up in the moment. He carried the bat with him. He tried to hand it to the first base coach. He kind of screwed it up. He screwed up the toss, and that was that.
Anyway, that didn't bother me at all.
It didn't. No, it didn't. But it for the same reason that the call, that people disagree with the call, is bothering you. People that are calling out these guys for like being unsportsmanlike. Give me a break already. Honestly, this just needs to stop. It's just really, yeah. All right, so then we hit Game 7, and somehow Max Scherzer is able to pitch.
Yes, he's able to pitch, and actually, he didn't pitch great, and
no,
the Astros had him on the ropes almost every inning, and they only scored 2 runs. And that's why they lost the game. It had nothing to do with the pitching changes in the 7th, 8th, or 9th. It had everything to do with, in the first 5 innings, the Astros left, I think, 9 runners on base and didn't blow the game wide open when they had a chance to. And if they were going to score, they needed to score against Scherzer because Patrick Corbin was ready to go for 3-4 innings.
Yeah, and actually, going back to Game 6 for a second, because it mirrors itself. We didn't talk about Strasburg, how great he was, right? But they had Strasburg on the ropes in Game 6 in the first inning, right?
Yes.
Bregman homered, and then the very, very next pitch, next batter, Gurriel smashed one to left field, and it went into that little cubby,
Right.
like that little indentation in the outfield, the deepest part of the park,
Anywhere else he hits it, that's a home run.
Yeah, they could have jumped all over Strasburg in the first inning and got a few more runs. And supposedly, I don't know if you heard the interview, someone talked to Strasburg and said, "You're tipping your pitches. I think they know what you're throwing." And he corrected something, and then basically they couldn't touch him the rest of the game. So the Astros had their chance there in the first inning, and Strasburg got a bit lucky that he hit it to that weird part of the park. And then, what can I say? I wrote in my notes, Scherzer was all guts. Scherzer was guts over skill. He didn't have his good stuff. He didn't pitch great, but he did everything he had to do to get them to win, right? He did whatever he had to do.
Now, what's interesting in Game 7,
yeah,
I mean, it doesn't matter now, but I'm pretty sure if you ask the Astros, they would have wanted Scherzer to stay in the game at least one more inning because they probably would have got to him eventually if he stayed in longer.
Yeah, I think they feel like they could have got to him, yeah.
By the same token, when the Astros took out Greinke, the Nationals were probably thrilled because other than that one home run Greinke gave up, no one could touch Greinke.
Josh, we could do a 45-minute episode on how AJ Hinch butchered Game 7 in terms of handling his bullpen. Like, honestly.
Well,
I could not comprehend why Greinke came out of the game. I'll never understand it ever. Like, it doesn't make any sense. The guy was unhittable.
Well, he gave up a home run and he gave up a
know.
single, I think. A home run and a single in that same inning. And so, I mean, I'm not saying I would have taken him out, but Hinch is probably thinking, oh, they're starting to hit him.
Yeah.
And then I think there was also the inning before a deep fly ball, which ended up being an out, but it was a deep fly ball. So
Yeah.
Hinch is probably thinking, oh, they're starting to hit him. I need to get him out of there. But the truth of the matter is, he was pitching really well, and I'm sure the Nationals were thrilled at the minute they took him out.
Of course. And then what is Hinch's solution? Yeah, they're starting to hit him. Maybe I need to get him out of there. So let's bring in Harris, the guy who gave up a home run the day before, right? Harris
Yes.
did everything that everybody thought he was going to do. He gave up a home run in Game 6, and then he gave up a home run in Game 7. And then it was over, Like, honestly.
Although in Harris's defense, the homer he gave up in Game 7 was like a bloop opposite field.
It was
hit.
a Casey Candel shot.
Exactly. Like, it barely nicked the foul pole.
Look, it's been a month we've been talking about Howie Kendrick.
Right? He was crazy good.
Like, the guy is such a good hitter. And then I would have given him the World Series MVP just for that home run.
So would I. And in fact, I'm surprised that Strasburg got the MVP.
Well, actually, Rendon should have been the MVP.
Right.
I mean, really.
I would have had Rendon and then Kendrick and then maybe Strasburg would be third.
Yeah. Rendon carried them, honestly. He did everything for them. But that home run off the foul pole, like when it left the bat, my first thought was that's a foul ball.
Right, and you not only a foul ball, but like it's not going to even reach the wall. It's going to drop in right field somewhere.
Yeah, and then it sort of kept carrying, and I was like, oh, like the right fielder's going to get this, and then next thing you know, it hit the foul pole, which is also a stupid name. It should be the fair pole.
It's funny because I was watching a game with someone the other day, and I referred to it as a fair pole, and he's like, "Oh, you call it a fair pole also? That's good."
Well, I guess it's supposed to indicate where the foul line is, so whatever. It's just the name, but it is a bit silly.
Correct.
Yeah, but seriously, Howie Kendrick. I mean, wow. I have no words. He's just what a hitter.
The minute he was announced as the next batter, I mean, you knew who was coming up. But
yeah.
Like you knew something good was going to happen for the Nationals. It was inevitable, especially because it was the 7th inning, and they always did all their damage. It seemed in the 7th inning.
Yeah, that's true. So I talked about Hinch and how he mismanaged the bullpen. Of everything in the World Series, the thing that infuriated me the most about what happened in the games was after the game, and they asked AJ Hinch, why didn't you bring in Garrett Cole? Because he said he was going to bring in Garrett Cole in relief, and apparently Cole's ready to come in or could have come in. And they asked him about it. And I have a direct quote here. I was only going to bring in Cole if we had the lead. Can you think of a more stupid... Like, I just called them dinosaurs. Like, there's no more idiotic comment than that. That is the dumbest thing in the world, you know?
Yeah. In Hinch's defense, now I don't need to defend him, but he made his own decisions.
Yeah.
It didn't really matter because the Astros did not score another run after the fifth inning.
Yes.
So it didn't really matter. He could have brought in Cy Young, who could have thrown 4 shutout innings. It wouldn't have made a difference because the Astros could not score.
Yes, but and I left out part of the quote. He said, I didn't want to bring him in. I only was going to bring him in if we had the lead. And he also said, I didn't want to bring him in the middle of an inning because he's never made a relief appearance. I get that. So I understand that you don't bring him in where you brought in Harris. But the thing that Hinch did that I didn't like was he came into the game with a plan, which is good. We're going to use Greinke, then we're going to use Harris, then we're going to use Presley, then we're going to use Cole. Game over. That was the plan. He already had it written out who he was going to use. And the thing is, that game went sideways on them. That plan should have been thrown out, right? Let's come up with a new plan that's going to help us win this game, not just stick to our guns because we wrote it out an hour before the game. You know, like that's what bothered me. He was so inflexible, and he was like, nah, I'm not going to bring him in. Because if they would have brought in Cole the next inning, maybe the Nationals don't score again. Maybe it's only the lead is closer going in the 8th and the 9th. And then you never know. You get one guy on, you get the 2-run homer. Like you said, it didn't matter because they didn't score, but change the complexion of like the possibility of a comeback, you know?
The other thing I'll say, and again, I don't need to defend AJ Hinch, but these guys like Will Harris and Presley and Osuna, like they've been good all year.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like they don't have a good bullpen. They do have a good bullpen.
Yeah.
And so he just did what he's been doing all season long.
Yeah.
And it worked for them all season long. Now,
but the season's 162 games. It's not 7. And then when you're down, from a 7-game series to a one game, you need to think of things a little bit differently, you know?
Right. I don't think it's a good idea to have a plan at all, to be honest, because how do you know what's going to happen?
Right. You know, you got to go with how the game is going.
Exactly. Right? And Greinke was
and how the game
really
was going
well.
Is Greinke should have stayed in.
Greinke should have stayed in. Yes.
Look, we're the ultimate second guessers right now.
Right.
We're doing everything because we know exactly what happened after. It's easy for us to sit here in our, me in Montreal, you in Toronto, and just pick AJ Hinch apart. But AJ Hinch is going to think about that Game 7 for a long time. It's going to haunt them. Don't you think? He's going to think about all the decisions and the missed opportunities. Like, it's losing Game 7 is never a good thing.
No, but he does have one World Series at least. If he had none, I think it'd be bothering him a lot more.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
What I thought was actually kind of funny was after the game, they interviewed Garrett Cole.
Yeah.
And first of all, he was wearing a different baseball hat. It was like a Scott Boras baseball hat. It wasn't even a Houston Astros hat.
As soon as the game ended, he was no longer an employee of the team anymore.
Well, I mean, technically that's not true because I think they only became free agents yesterday, these guys.
Right, okay.
So technically 5 minutes after the game's over, or even an hour after the game's over, you're technically still an employee of the team.
Right.
I don't know why he needed to take off his Houston Astros hat so quickly. Whatever, that's his decision. And he's clearly not going to play on that team next year.
Doesn't look like it.
He's going to get a boatload of money.
Yeah.
And by the way, whoever signs him is going to pay way too much money. And I'm telling you now, he's not going to pan out.
The thing what will happen is he'll sign to an 8-year contract.
Yeah, and he might have 2 good years.
Exactly. You took the words out of my mouth. He'll be good this year. He'll be good next year. Maybe the year after. The first 2 out of 3 years he'll be great. And then what?
Then he'll be David Price and Chris Sale.
You're absolutely right.
So
speaking of David Price and Chris Sale, what I do now is I take pictures of Twitter, Josh. I see things on Twitter and I take pictures of it to remember what I want to talk about.
And you make fun of me when I take pictures of my television.
First of all, there's some great stuff here that I took. Hold on. The Detroit Tigers 2014 starting rotation. Do you know who it was?
I don't tell. I can guess.
Okay.
Verlander was in it. Scherzer was in it, and Anibal Sanchez was in it.
And also David Price, 2018 World Series champion.
Right.
And Ricky Porcello, 2018 World Series champion. Everybody that was on their rotation in 2014 won the World Series in 2017, 18, or 19.
There you go.
Yeah. And that's it. That's all I wanted to tell you what I took pictures of on Twitter. Do you have more? You have more to talk about the World Series? I don't know if we're going to talk about hockey today. I don't know if we're going to talk about football. I think maybe it might be World Series only. No.
First of all, I have to tell you one more thing that bugs me.
Things that bug me?
Okay, please.
So Mike Wilbon. I can't stand Mike Wilbon.
Well, how many times have I texted you last month saying I can't stand him? I don't even want to listen to him.
I'm going to give you a specific example of why I can't stand him.
He's the most pretentious. It's unbelievable how arrogant he is.
So anytime that anyone tries to introduce stats, like Tony introduces stats, Wilbon always says, I don't want to hear about your analytics. I don't want to hear about your... It's not even analytics. It's just stats.
Yeah, batting average, home runs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the other thing that bothers me, anytime there's a debate where Wilbon is involved in a debate about the Cy Young Award, you and I think, are on the same page. I don't look at a pitcher's won-loss record when I'm trying to decide if a pitcher is worthy of the Cy Young, because the won-loss record is a function of the team that he was on. It's a function of how much run support he got.
I look at it, but like maybe the fifth thing I look at.
Right, like there's ERA, there's WHIP,
ERA,
there's opponent's
WHIP,
batting average,
strikeouts.
strikeouts, all those things. That tells you about the pitcher himself. The won-loss record, whatever. You could pitch amazing and you get a no decision, or you could pitch lousy and you get the win.
Exactly.
So the won-loss record is meaningless to me. However, Wilbon has said, like publicly, that you play to win the game, not in that tone.
Yeah.
And he thinks that the won-loss record is important when determining the Cy Young.
It's such a like, I've already used the word dinosaur 3 times on this show, and that's what it is. I mean, come on.
So then this week on PTI, Tony mentions, this is, I think, before Verlander's start. Tony mentions that Justin Verlander's career record in the World Series is 0-5.
Right.
And Wilbon right away says, I don't care about his won-loss record. So when the Cy Young is involved, you care about the won-loss record, but now all of a sudden you don't.
Yeah. Look, Verlander didn't pitch well in the playoffs since they played Tampa. You recall, like, they played against Tampa?
Yes.
And he pitched amazing, and the manager of Tampa came out and said, we got Verlandered because he was unhittable. Right?
Well, in one of the games against the Yankees, he had a bad first inning, but then he was good the rest of the game.
Yes, that's true. But, like, his last 3 starts, he was totally hittable. I don't know. Look, he's old, right?
And he's thrown over 200 innings by now.
It's not just the amount of innings. They said... I wish I had the stat in front of me. I could look it up now, but he has some he's like way high up on a list of like the amount of pitches thrown in this season and the amount of pitches thrown in his career. Like he's thrown so many pitches the last 5 years. It's like it's crazy what he's thrown. Like they didn't used to count that. They didn't even used to look at how many pitches people threw. Right? Yeah. I still love Verlander. I still
If you recall his last year on Detroit,
he wasn't good.
He wasn't having such a good season.
No, he had a few mediocre years on Detroit. But then when he went to Houston, it changed things for him.
Look, he's already had a longer career than, most pitchers do.
Of course.
Like most pitchers by this age, they're not as effective as he is.
No. Speaking of that, speaking of most pitchers at his age, did you see Nolan Ryan sitting in the front row every game?
I didn't actually.
He was at the games in Houston. He was sitting right in the front row, the third or fourth seat to the right.
I didn't notice him.
Yeah, well, he was there.
Okay, we're going to introduce a new segment on the show right now.
I can't wait.
Well, we always do what's bugging me, right?
Yes.
But now we're going to do what's bugging you.
Me?
Yes, because this week I received a text message from you. And I'm going to.
I know where you're going with this, and I'm gonna bleep some stuff out here. I think I'm going to
read the text message that you sent me,
Okay.
because I'm still not sure what it is that was bugging you. And so this is why I'm asking, what's bugging you?
Okay.
So the text that you wrote was this: I was angry at the Tony podcast today, enough that I may not listen anymore. Michael Kornheiser had me swearing at them. I hate them all.
Okay, I thought you were going with something else. Something else that I sent you. I told this to my wife and what happened and why I was upset. And she made me realize that it's not Michael Kornheiser's fault or the fans of the Nationals' fault. There's other circumstances. But I still feel how I feel. So do you remember this week he was talking about, and then no one knows who we're talking about, by the way. Michael Kornheiser is Tony Kornheiser's son. He's on his podcast all the time. But let's just use this, like, let's just say it's a representation of Nationals fans, right? Mm-hmm. So he was talking about how baseball has sort of swept the city, right? And the Nationals fever took over and everyone's into it. And he has a son who's like 2-3 years old. And now his son is like into baseball. He's learning about baseball and they're watching games together and he knows the names of the players. And he was saying how it's so great because when he himself was a kid, they didn't have a baseball team. And now he's so happy that he's going to be able to share this baseball experience with his son and even moving forward as he grows up. I was so emotional about this. You have no idea. Because I have every feeling that he has in reverse, right? Because the day the Expos left, I cried, Josh. And I'm still emotional about the fact that we don't have a team here. And it's not the fact that like I don't get to go, we don't get to follow a team and the players and all this. I wanted to experience everything I felt and why I love baseball with my family, with my son, who grew up not knowing baseball and doesn't follow baseball and didn't watch a minute of the World Series. He watched 1 minute with me when he came downstairs and then he said, okay, bye, I'm going to bed, right? That was in Game 7, right? So everything that Michael's experiencing with his kid, I didn't experience because they stole our team.
I'm with you 100%. They
stole our team. And I know I might sound unreasonable and I might sound stupid, emotional and whatever, but that's how I feel. That's how I feel.
I don't think you're unreasonable at all because I agree with you 100%. I don't have a kid, but I also feel like something was stolen from me.
Yeah.
And so I don't know exactly how you feel or how Michael feels because you guys have kids and I don't. But I'm sure if I had a kid, I'd feel just as upset, if not more upset than you.
Look, do the Nationals fans deserve to be happy? Of course they do. Of course they do. They're supporting their team. I'm doing the same thing. I'm supporting the team that I lost. I mean, when I say supporting, I wasn't rooting for the Nationals, but like, I feel how I feel. I feel like we got something ripped away from us. And just when the wounds have healed, a lot of stuff came out in the last month and especially in the last week about, how it was the Expos franchise and, it just makes things a little more raw, in terms of the memories of the team, and I like the fact that the Expos memory is alive and maybe the Nationals winning the championship World Series keeps the Expos name sort of in memory, but it just gives me bad feelings. And now can I segue into what I thought you were going to talk about?
Sure.
That talk show, Tim and Sid on Sportsnet?
Yeah, I don't really watch it. You said something. You said something to me in a text message, and I didn't understand it.
Yeah. So, 5 minutes after the Nationals won the World Series, Sid tweets out, and I don't even follow him, so I don't know why it appeared in my Twitter feed. I think because someone must have retweeted it. He tweeted, and now I don't know the tone, and maybe I'm overreacting, but I'm reacting how I'm reacting. He tweeted, "Congratulations to the Montreal Expos on their first World Series championship."
Ugh, that makes me sick.
To that, I say, you, Sid. Honestly, I was like, what an honestly.
That makes me sick.
I know you're in Toronto. I know you don't like Montreal. You probably didn't like the Expos, but screw you, honestly. Like that's how I feel about that. And I'm sorry to bring an angry tone to our podcast. It's supposed to make us, talk about whatever, but that pissed me off. Like, you have no idea how that pissed me off.
Well, I didn't even know about that tweet till just now, first of all. And now that you're telling me, it makes me sick because the Expos did not win the World Series.
I don't even want to tell you about some of the replies. Some replies were like me, which is basically like, hey, that's uncalled for. And some of the replies were a-holes from Toronto saying, you know, pictures of Joe Carter and, you know, like empty Olympic. Someone said a picture of an empty Olympic stadium saying you guys got what you deserved. And like, honestly, I hope the Jays lose their team one day. I hope the Jays leave Toronto.
That would be
and
great,
then
actually.
all those people in Toronto will shut the hell up, you know, honestly.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people I come across on a daily basis here who, you know, they have no clue what happened in Montreal, and they think,
no idea.
No one went to the games, and that's why you lost your team. But they neglect to mention all the other 17,000 other things that happened before that led to no one coming to the games.
Yeah. Oh, look, there's a reason why the team left, and are the fans partly at fault for the Expos leaving? Of course they are. You know, like, not me. I'm not. I went to games.
So did I.
You know, but of course, like, look, we're not going to get into this whole.
By the way, let me just tell you
left,
something about Tim and Sid.
Yeah.
I don't even know which one is Tim and which one is Sid.
Yeah, I don't know either.
That's how important they are to me.
Great point, Josh. I couldn't have put it better. That was awesome. All right. Do you have anything more about the World Series, baseball, anything else? You want to make something lighter maybe? Because we've been kind of somber here.
I have no more baseball stuff.
Do you have any other sports?
I mean, we could talk about other things if you want, or we could talk about them next week. It doesn't really matter. It's up to you.
I wanted to segue into baseball related.
Mm-hmm.
You sent me a text this week, so maybe I'll do a segment that we haven't done in a while, which is listener mail or listener feedback.
Okay.
Mailbag.
So thank you to Dave Littman, who apparently you know him, or
yeah.
You texted me. And you wrote it in quotes, so I guess it's a quote of what he told you. You guys really hit the nail on the head with the podcast last week with the international feed and the ridiculousness of having Buck Martinez on it.
Yeah.
And also not being able to stay up, which apparently he discussed with you. Even tonight when the trophy will most likely be handed out, I'll be asleep hopefully before the 6th inning, he wrote, which is kind of cute. Anyways, all that to say is, Dave Littman, thank you for listening. We really, really appreciate that.
Speaking of being able to stay awake,
I did stay awake for all of Game 7, which is crazy.
You need to explain something to me.
Yeah.
Tony Kornheiser, who professes to be a huge Nationals fan, he did not stay awake. I think there was only one game where he was able to stay awake till the end of the game, and that was the one game that he actually went to. All the other games, he falls asleep like in the 5th or 6th inning. Like, I don't understand. It's the World Series. It's the most important games of the year. How do you not just stay up an extra hour to see the end of the game?
I don't want to judge, Josh. He's 71 years old.
71? He has a full-time job.
I know. Exactly. Maybe he's tired.
How do you not stay awake?
Look, when we're 71, God willing, we'll talk about how we're able to stay up or not stay up for the 7th game of the World Series.
Let me just tell you, if the Montreal Expos were involved in these games, there's no way I'm going to bed before the game is over. There's no chance.
You say that now, but when your 71-year-old you is exhausted from doing your day-to-day routine and you can't stay awake, you don't know. You just don't know.
All right. Well, we'll talk about it in, 20 years? 20-something years.
Yes, 20-something years. Before we sign off, remember, you can listen and subscribe to new and archived episodes of the Skip and Josh podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and of course, Spotify. If you listen to the show through Apple Podcasts, please leave us a review. We would love to hear from you via email, skipandjoshshow@gmail.com, via Twitter @skipandjosh, or by liking and following our Facebook page. As always, you can get all the links to everything I just talked about on our website, skipandjosh.com.
We leave you with this.
So, do you have anything to end the show with today?
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know, in case it's probably snuck up on you.
Yeah.
But the Duke basketball season finally starts on Tuesday.
Oh, yeah.
At 7 o'clock, because Duke is playing Kansas in should be an exciting game, actually.
Right.
The chances of us getting to see any Duke games this year are slim to none.
Well, yeah, and there's no Canadians to show off.
Exactly. So I don't know if we're going to get to see any of them. But, at least now I have something else to pay attention to.
Yeah, actually, now that the World Series is over, like my full attention is going to actually be on college basketball. Well, and hockey, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Canadians actually won 2 games in a row on back-to-back nights. I don't think that's happened.
Yeah, I know. Huge. Really huge. So, happy Halloween, Josh. Did you celebrate?
No, I didn't, but thank you.
I don't know if you realize what happened here in Montreal with Halloween, but
I heard Halloween was postponed today because of the rain.
yeah, so basically they were expecting a lot of rain on Thursday night. So the mayor of Montreal comes out and says, because of the rain, Halloween is going to be changed to Friday. Like, how the mayor of a city could just decide this, I just don't get it. So the weather was bad on Thursday night. It was really bad, but it was still bad yesterday. So basically, like, no one went on Halloween at all, or some people maybe went twice. Like, all I know is, like, I didn't see any kids trick-or-treating on either night, so it wouldn't have mattered anyways. I just think the whole thing is ridiculous, how someone can decide that a holiday is a different day.
So actually, I have a couple of questions. First of all, I know your kids used to dress up and go trick-or-treating. Do they still do that?
No. They go to, like, parties now with alcohol and stuff.
Oh my God. Anyway, so yes, I heard they delayed it by a day, but then the weather was almost worse the day after because of the wind.
The wind yesterday was insane. There's no way anybody can go out on Halloween yesterday. And the weather was bad on Thursday, so changing the date doesn't do anything. Just kind of crazy. The times we live in, Josh.
I can't take credit for this idea, but someone had this idea, and I think it's a good idea because, as you know, Halloween is on October 31st, and you never know what day of the week that's going to fall on. But It's really a holiday for kids, right? And I mean, young kids, the younger they are, the earlier they have to go to bed, especially if it's a school night. So someone suggested that Halloween should just be on the last Saturday of October, regardless of what number day that is in the calendar. And I think that's actually a good idea.
I could get behind that, but then what happens when there's bad weather? Are they going to postpone it again to the next day? It still doesn't change anything.
No, I mean, you got to do what you got to do. The weather shouldn't have any effect. But, I mean, by doing it a few days earlier, you'd think the weather might be a little bit better because actually on last Saturday, the weather was nice.
Yeah, you never know. Sometimes it snows on Halloween, sometimes it rains, sometimes it's beautiful. We don't know. That's what happens to living in Canada, right? All right, so next time, no more baseball.
No more baseball.
Well, we're done with baseball. That's it. It's over.
Well, we can debate all the award winners when they come out, but I mean, whatever.
All right, so next time I think we'll probably get back to maybe a little hockey and football and Duke basketball.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
Okay, I'll talk to you next week.
Okay, have a good week.